and we do some movement again, and I speak again, and we do more movement again, okay? And the reason I do this is because I feel that that's how we can really integrate the messages that we hear with our brains and our ears and integrate it with our bodies so maybe it sticks with us a little longer. The theme for this month is the importance of empathy. So, importance, right? What does that word mean? Well, it's significant, right? It's valuable. It makes an impact. Empathy. What's empathy? It's understanding. Understanding deeply, knowingly, putting your own emotions aside and your judgment aside, and putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And actually, not only from their perspective, but almost like crawling around in their skin. So you really, really understand where that other person's coming from. So kind of like a story about a farmer who was selling puppies. So he's putting his sign out that says puppies for sale, and there's a little boy that walks by and says, "Hey, can I see the puppies?" And the farmer says, "Of course you can." He opens the barn door and 5 bouncing puppies come out, and they're really so cute, and they're running and they're jumping and they're playing. And then the 6th puppy comes out, and that puppy really can't keep up with the others. He's a little slower, you can tell. He maybe limps a little, and the little boy says, "I want that puppy." And the farmer says, "You don't want that puppy. He won't be able to catch up with you. He won't be able to jump and play." And then the little boy lifts up his pant legs, and there's a brace on either side of his leg. And he says, "I don't run too well myself. He's going to need someone who understands." Okay. So, spiritually, empathy is kind of like oxygen, right? It's vital to our lives. That's really how we connect with each other, okay? It heals. It breeds trust. It brings us spiritual growth and happiness because we can dig deep and get to know another person from that perspective. It brings us insight as well as healing. So every person on this earth, right, is afraid of something, has lost something, okay? And by empathizing, you're not alone. I understand. We bring this strong emotional bond between us and other people, between us and the person you're with, between us and your partner, your coworkers, whoever you're with. So back in the late 70s, I was a young nurse in my 20s at a busy hospital. It was a tertiary care facility. We had transplant patients and research patients. And at that time, we were really short-staffed. And so nursing was very task-oriented, okay? So on my shift, I got to do 12 dressings, medications for 6 people. I've got to suction this person, hang up this number of IV bags, give blood to hang blood to one of these patients. So many more dressing changes, this and that. Plus, you had to calculate your own drug doses in those days, so you could badly make a mistake. So it felt very tense, it felt very busy, and there was no time really for dealing with the human emotion. It's, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, I got to get this task done, I got to go from one patient to another. And there was this patient, a young lady, also in her young 20s, who had a kidney transplant. And the transplant turned out really well. She just had a cute little 3-inch scar here, and she had a young husband. She had her life before her, and one day in the hospital, things went bad. She had a medical emergency. She crashed. She needed a tracheostomy, which is basically a hole in the neck that you need to breathe through instead of then now your mouth and your nose. And that got badly infected. And so she really turned out to be kind of a mess for quite a while. You know, She smelled, there was sputum all over the place. We had to suction her. It was really, really kind of a tough situation for her. And one day I was suctioning her, and her husband really couldn't take it any longer and kind of patted her on the hand and said he had to go home. And she just broke down in tears. And I thought, oh, I don't have time for this. I've got blood to hang next door. I don't have time to deal with this weepy woman. And then it's like, Tina, you're a human being here. What are you doing? So I stopped, held her hand, and remember, she can't talk, okay? She's got this tracheostomy, and all we had was this stupid chalkboard, and it was going to take forever to get this conversation going. But then I could put myself in her shoes, okay? And what's the most important thing to me as a woman in her 20s but to look attractive, right, to your young husband, okay? And to feel loved by your husband. And so just held her hand, and I said, oh, your husband left. Sob, 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 sob. And on the chalkboard, I discussed him. So I could see where she was coming from. We had a little more conversation as best as we could. And so as the assistant head nurse on the unit, I could go back and we could have a conference about her. And basically what we decided is before she had company, particularly her husband, we would try to make sure we would get all the icky stuff done before anybody was around. And if we knew her husband was coming, give her all the tools that she needed to primp herself up so that she could have some of her dignity back, some of her self-esteem back, okay? And what I learned is that efficiency is for machines. It's not for human beings, okay? Empathy takes presence. It takes time. So why is this a theme? We have a theme every month because most of these themes we need reminding of. We forget. We get caught up in our day-to-day lives, whether it's our jobs, our family, trying to find a job, making sure that we've got food on the table, all of those things. It takes skill and it takes practice. Now, sometimes we think we're empathetic, right? But sometimes what it is just head sympathy. It's not with the heart along with it. It's not necessarily balanced. We might say, I'm sorry for your loss, but that's kind of superficial. I mean, sometimes we don't know what to say. And sometimes we can really not be thinking or feeling in a balanced way and say, oh, I'm sorry you had a miscarriage, but at least you know you can get pregnant. I mean, sometimes we do that to each other. We don't think and balance with our head and our heart at the same time. Or some individuals are empathics. They feel everybody else's pain. And it's hard for them to intellectualize their feelings. So they end up getting emotionally drained. So these are themes because we can sometimes be on both sides of the spectrum here and need to come together in some sort of a balance. So we also need that emotional intelligence to understand our own feelings, where it is we need empathy ourselves. And we all do in some way. So I'd like to invite you to stand up. And we're going to do our first movement exercise. I always start out with movement to help us get rid of what no longer serves us. Okay, so I encourage you to give yourself some space because you're going to want to be able to move a little bit. Okay, and first take a couple of breaths. And I invite you while you're doing that to just lightly tap on your forehead. We're going to be doing some Qigong movements, and Qigong is about getting rid of stuck energy, balancing energy, balancing male and female energy, heat and cold, and getting things to flow And if empathy is partially about understanding, we're tapping our heads to help clear those cobwebs. Where are we sitting in judgment? Where are our minds stuck? There's been a lot going on in the world, politically, interpersonally. Let's just free our minds from that right now. And if empathy also involves the heart, I invite you to pound on that heart, a gorilla pound, and release your heart from any emotion and feeling that is holding you back, that no longer serves you. Whether it's that emotion of the week, of the last couple of years, of these last few weeks, that fear, that anger, that sadness, whatever emotion is holding you back, let it go. Let it go, release it. Then with both arms, I invite you to just slap your back and your whole body. Just remind your whole body to let it loose. We hold on to all of this stuff with our whole being. We create tension in our body, which creates all kinds of things. Those emotions can escalate to other things, physical things that manifest in our body. Just release them. Just let them go. And while you're doing this, don't forget to breathe. Breathe in and out deeply. Now I invite you to, on a bigger scale, do that and swing. Swing. Swing, whole body. You're clearing the energy out around you. You cleared the brain fog, now the fog around you. Look at that sunshine out there. Notice that. Notice the beauty of this room. When you're flinging up, look at that beautiful dome. See with your eyes. Open up with your heart. Clear everything so you can see and understand, feel. Okay, now I invite you to shake those hands. And you're going to fling off any other crap that's going on with you. Just get rid of it. And those knees, kind of shake those knees a little bit too. Okay. Just get rid of what no longer serves you. While you're doing that, vocally, I encourage you to do a loud ha, okay? Ha. 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 Okay. And with one hand cupped at your belly, the other hand up and around with your thumb pointed towards you. Bring down that hand in a focused fashion, focusing your head and your heart. And do that with the other arm, focusing your head with your heart. And with both hands on your heart, breathe in some empathy for yourself. And I encourage you to have a seat. Oh. So, life is the first gift that we have. Love is the second. Understanding is the third. So in Buddhism, part of the philosophy is using our own suffering so that we can understand the suffering of others and the world. We develop a greater conscious awareness when we do that. And we can then fully understand things to the full depth of their meaning. So it's easy to understand empathy when we're talking about a puppy, or a disabled boy, or a young woman in the hospital. But now we're here on this beautiful school called Living Life on Mother Earth, and we are given all of these wonderful challenges that we don't really want, where other people are pushing our buttons. And that's when it's the hardest to really step up and have empathy, okay? For your coworkers who might be sabotaging, for your family who might be over-controlling, to your spouse who might have cheated, to anything that may be going on with you, to your adult children who are holding your grandchildren hostage or as weapons against you. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on out there, right? And that's when we have to stop. And before we lash out, because usually that's our first reaction, we want to stop and try to understand where that other person is coming from. And we might find that that adult daughter that was holding the grandchildren hostage against grandma, who just retired early so that she could babysit for the grandkids, but instead she gets thrown out because the daughter's saying she's from the wrong political party, and you're kind of going, what the heck's going on here? If you actually sit down, you might actually understand that the daughter's tired. She's been taking care of COVID patients. She's afraid that she's going to come home and infect everybody. She's like going off the rails. And the daughter might not understand that the grandmother who lives alone needs this nuclear family during time of COVID rather than being isolated by herself. But unless the two of you sit down and you talk about those fears and those feelings, that empathy doesn't happen. And so we don't have to be right. We just need to understand. So if we're truly open-minded, we realize that once we've done it, we can help get other people back on their feet. We can really create bonds. It's an exercise in humility and patience. And what we're really doing with that other person, particularly the person that's pushing our button, we're helping ourselves, but we're also giving them a gift and enabling them to also give you a gift back. Empathy, we might also say, is essential for peace. So, and we might notice that sometimes when power increases, doesn't it seem that empathy decreases? It's kind of ironic. And there's a quote here, I don't really know who said it, but they said, "The death of human empathy is one of the earliest and most telling signs of a culture falling into barbarianism." That's kind of a strong statement. But we don't have to act out of malice, like what's going on in the Ukraine, to do harm. It can happen unknowingly. We might not be doing it intentionally because we're not balancing our head and our hearts in empathy in a balanced fashion. And it's been said that if we operate just with the cognitive part of empathy, we can be blind. And if we act with just the heart part of empathy, we can be dangerous and not really intending to. So injustice, we might say, is due to a lack of heart. But reacting just with our feelings, we become impulsive. We can become divisive. Okay? And sometimes if we focus too narrowly one way or the other, we have this potential to focus so narrowly, not looking at the downstream effects of what we're doing, and we can cause a greater harm for a larger group of people. And so it's that balanced empathy that we need to be mindful of, and it takes courage. Most of us have the ability to be empathetic, but we might not have the courage to actually apply it. So I've been following the Kim Potter case very closely. And last time I spoke, the trial was going on. But now we have a verdict of guilty, and now we have the judging by the judge, the sentencing by the judge. And the judge, before handing down the sentence, said something like, "I know I'm not going to be able to make everybody happy." And when she delivered the sentence, she cried. Okay? And as we all know, it was a terrible mistake. Both sides agreed upon that. And so what she did before the sentencing is right. She used her head by listening to all the evidence. There's a dead man. Justice needed to be served. There was also a person who was no threat to society. And how do you balance those two? So there was a jail sentence. And who else would be better to do the public service and teach cops how to use tasers appropriately? Would be that cop. So then there's service to the community that also need to be held. But that judge was called on both sides either too soft or too harsh. There were others that applauded her for her balanced empathy. It takes courage. So it's been said that empathy is a quality of character that can change the world. When we have balanced empathy, we can create bridges, right? Bridges to close that gap for both sides. Listen with empathy. Act with compassion. It might be that empathy is the most influential aspect for civilization. So when we step out of our own bubble and into another's, and we step out of our judgment, we create a relationship between equals, because that's what we all are. We're more alike than we're different. Let's keep that oneness in mind. Keep that shared humanity in mind. I'm going to encourage you to stand up again. And now we're going to do some balancing exercises. The first part was to get rid of what no longer serves you, and I encourage you to stand, feet slightly apart, knees bent, deep breaths. Stand there like a strong tree, standing in a stream. Strong, sturdy, against the currents of life. Raise up those arms midway. And open up your heart. Put those arms back, your chest out, and just stand there with your heart open, full of kindness, love, empathy. Arms up, palms to the sky. Look way up, and if you want to arch your back a little and look at that beautiful dome, or if you're at home, that ceiling. Connecting with Father Sky. Connecting with the light of the sun. Connecting with the greater universe. And all the oneness. Slowly now, remember keeping those knees bent. Come down. Bending your back. With the knees bent, protecting your back also. And if you can reach Mother Earth, that would be great. And if you need to bend your knees a little more to do that, that's great. And if you can't bend that far, just wave to Mother Earth. Connect and balance with all that Mother Earth is. The kind, nurturing Mother Earth. The Mother Earth that has natural empathy for all of us. She feeds us. She grows everything we eat. She provides water, nurturing, sustenance, love. Thank her. And with those arms, I'm going to encourage you now to take those arms and put them way behind you, palms up to the sky, and just flatten your back. So it's like a table. And just breathe. You might feel a little stretch in your legs, a little stretch in your arms. Challenge your whole being for strength, and for feeling your presence in this moment. Slowly come up. Slowly. Both arms up. And keep one palm up with the tips of your fingers towards your head. The other palm down to Mother Earth. Connecting the heavens and the earth with you as the conduit. You as the conduit of balanced energy. That bridge to both worlds. That bridge to both sides. Standing here in balance. Feel the light coming in from your top hand and love of Mother Earth coming in from your bottom hand, flowing through you. Now slowly reverse that position. Ooh, the other hand down, the other hand up. A conduit of balance, empathy for the world, empathy for fellow human beings, empathy for those in your day-to-day life. Slowly bring your hands to mid-center, opening that heart one more time. Breathing in and out. One hand to your heart. The other hand to your head. Balancing that energy between the two. Both hands to your heart. Give thanks to yourself. And I encourage you to have a seat. So spiritual empathy is this divine state. Okay, it flows freely. It has no boundaries. It's fluid and it's resilient. When we feel it spiritually, we feel awareness and we feel awakened. But enlightened people don't just happen overnight, okay? Generally, they have experienced themselves all of the pains of life. You know, the losses, the struggles, everything that life has to offer, and that's how they develop an appreciation. It's sort of something that happens with old souls as well. And you don't necessarily have to be old in age. to be an old soul, although my grandmother, I felt that she was an old soul. She really seemed to exude it, and we didn't even speak the same language. I didn't speak Spanish, at least not real well, and she didn't speak any English, but she was able to still speak with me. She would talk with me a lot, and what I could feel from her was just always this unconditional love, knowing, empathy, kindness, that old soul, just by looking into her eyes and hearing her voice. So consider seeing through the eyes of others, okay? Listening with the ears of others. Getting into that sacred space with that other human being. Once we do that, we can feel the echoes of that other person within ourselves. So each Dalai Lama is found by the Tibetan monks. And the Dalai Lama is to be an extremely enlightened person on the highest level, right? And it's said that the Dalai Lamas make a conscious decision to return life after life. And the purpose is to benefit all sentient beings. That is their purpose. That is why they want to come back life after life, is to be able to do that. So you can understand then why this particular present Dalai Lama talks about what? Empathy and compassion. Okay? That is his message for the world. Now, some of you heard me talk about this before. Evan and I saw the current Dalai Lama about 10 years ago in Minneapolis. And I don't know if you've ever seen him live, but the way that I can describe him is cute. He's just really cute. He's just this bubbly, kind of a Santa Claus guy, but he wears, Tibetan robes. And he's giggly, and he can relate to people even though he doesn't live our lives. It's kind of like he has. He can relate to us. It was just really a wonderful experience. And in his messages, he's encouraging us to all create a compassionate world together and use empathy as the building blocks to that compassionate world. And he reminds us that we have so much in common, and he reminds us of the oneness of this world, and that there's a greater universal intelligence that we're really all co-creating together right now, in this very minute. And we have the ability to raise up that vibration. And what better tool than empathy? So, before we go on to our next movement, I encourage everyone to see the light in each other and be the light for each other. Okay, I encourage you to stand up. Ooh. So now we're going to do more movements, a little faster than the last time, flowing, starting out with our usual stance, feet slightly apart, knees bent, and taking our first deep breath first. That strong tree in the river flowing. Surrounded by light and love and empathy. It's a beautiful stream that you're standing in. Slowly bring the arms up. And with one foot slightly forward, going to encourage you. Just let slowly now integrate and let things flow. Remember, Qigong's about flowing. We got rid of stuck energy. We connected with light and love. And now we're letting it flow through us and around us. And through us with empathy for ourselves, around us with others, balancing it all with your heart, your head, your whole being, letting it flow freely through you, through your spirit and self. And I encourage you to go to the other side, same movement. And don't forget to deep breathe in and out, letting the flow of your lungs help. Air is flowing through you. Blood is flowing through your circulatory system. Everything is flowing. Now, I'll ask you to stop here and reverse that flow. Like a back swimming motion. Because remember, Qigong's about balance. You're bringing light and love and empathy towards you. You're bringing energy towards you so you have the strength to handle life's challenges with balance. And I encourage you to switch to the other side. Same movement to the other side. Bringing light and love and balance to you. Okay, back to center. And bring those arms up. And down. And with one hand cupped at your belly, the other arm up. You're going to do that same focused movement as before, but several times. Bring that hand down, cup it, and the other hand goes up, bringing laser light focus. We'll repeat this several times. Balancing the head and the heart. Two more times. Last time. Now, with both hands in front of your belly, one in front of the other, we're going to smooth out that energy. Hands are going to go up and down in a semicircle, one in front of the other. Balancing those energies, male and female energies. Emotions from one side of the spectrum to the other. Light and love. Closer and closer to light and love. Balancing them, merging them. Into a oneness of love. Feeling balanced. And one more time. Bring both hands to the center, palms facing each other. Holding that ball of light and love that holds so much beautiful, balanced energy. Surround it with protective love. Bless it with empathy. Hold it. Slowly bring your arms up while you're holding it. And let it go. Sending your empathy into the world. Slowly bring those hands down. To your heart. And I encourage you to have a seat. We're going to do our closing meditation. And after the meditation, there's going to be some silence. I'll ring a bell, and there'll be a YouTube song video. If you want to open your eyes after that, I encourage you to watch it. So, being balanced and centered in your chair, feet firmly on the ground, you're safe, you're grounded. I like to point my palms up, but many of you are experienced meditators. However you're comfortable. Take some deep breaths. And as you're breathing in, imagine through your nose breathing in beautiful, clean air, cleansed by the beautiful sun, having it flow from your lungs through your body, cleansing you on the inside and shining all through you. And some other breaths. Imagine that light surrounding your entire body in a cocoon, like as if you were in a womb, protecting you. Take that light that's also flowing in your brain and beam some of that out. Take some of that light from your heart and beam some of that outward and have them join together in a V in front of you. And have that V grow longer and longer beyond you, beyond this room, beyond this city, beyond this country, beyond this world, beyond this universe, touching your ancestors, touching all that we don't know about the universe, but that focused empathy that you have from your head and your heart, and feel it also being reflected back to you with a similar beam. And feel those two V beams come together in unity, oneness, humanity, and love, and sit in silence with it for a couple of minutes.
because you want to be heard. If silence keeps you, I will break it for you. Everybody wants to be understood. Well, I can't hear you. Everybody wants to be loved. Don't give up, because you are Don't give up. It's just the hurt that you hide. When you're lost inside, I'll be there to find you. Don't give up, because you want to burn bright. If darkness blinds you, I will shine to guide you. Everybody wants to be understood. Well, I can't hear you. Everybody wants to be loved. Don't give up, because you are Don't give up. It's just the way of the Don't give up. Everyone needs to be
So I invite you to come together for a closing circle. It'll be a small circle. And if you're comfortable holding hands, great. If you're not, just point your hands to your neighbor. And take a deep breath. Whoop. Mother, Father, God, Spirit, all who love us, thank you. Thank you for the ability to feel love and the ability to extend ourselves in empathy. Like it said up there, we may be just one person, but for one person, we may be the world. So let's remember that as we go out here today, as we go out of here into the world. and remember how much of a difference we can make. Aho.